Is there an end to the Middle East conflict with Israel, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis? Daniel Byman, does Israel's conflict with Hezbollah have an endgame? Foreign Policy, August 12, 2024. The Lebanese militant group will remain a threat to Israel even after the war. Israel's war in Gaza has long been tied to a broader regional conflict, with Iran, with the Houthis in Yemen, and most importantly, with Lebanon's Hezbollah, which attacks Israel in the name of solidarity with Hamas. Each of these smaller conflicts is threatening to become more intense after two successive Israeli assassinations, targeting senior Hezbollah commander Fuad Shukr in late July and Beirut and Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh in an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps safehouse in central Tehran. The conflict in Lebanon could move from limited war to full-scale conflict, whether due to miscalculation by Israel or Hezbollah, or a deliberate decision by either side that it would be to their advantage to initiate, rather than delay, a war that seems inevitable. If Israel were to launch a full-scale war, it would be a difficult and devastating war for both Israel and Lebanon. But after the guns of this major conflict have stopped, Israel would likely realize that its conflict with Hezbollah remains unresolved, and that it would gain little strategic advantage even if it won militarily. Israel would do well to try to strengthen its deterrence, even if it meant Hezbollah would continue to threaten it. Prior to the Hamas offensive on October 7, 2023, the Israelis had been reluctant to accept Hezbollah's presence on their northern border. The roughly 100,000 full-time and part-time fighters that Hezbollah can mobilize, along with its massive rocket arsenal, far larger than Hamas's, create an uneasy deterrent, as both sides understand that a war would be devastating. Both sides remember their 34-day conflict in 2006. During that war, Hezbollah repeatedly fired rockets at Israel and inflicted significant losses on Israeli ground forces as they advanced into Lebanon, but Hezbollah also suffered heavy casualties in the process, many times more than Israel. Neither side is eager for a rematch in the years that have followed. Iran's support for Hezbollah has not waned since 2006. Tehran continues to work closely with Hezbollah and will likely provide the group with significant financial and military support in the wake of a new conflict with Israel. Indeed, Iran's failed attempt to attack Israel in April underscored the value of having a formidable ally like Hezbollah on Israel's border. And supporting the Lebanese militant group is even easier than it was in 2006, as Iran and its allies now control the land corridor linking Iran to Iraq, Iraq to Syria, and Syria to Lebanon, allowing for easier overland shipments of weapons to the group. If war breaks out, Israel would have a hard time sustaining a sustained conflict in Lebanon. Its military is exhausted after nearly a year of fighting in Gaza, with many Israeli reservists having served multiple tours in the Strip. Spare parts, ammunition, and other supplies are also relatively scarce for a prolonged war. As a result, even a full-scale war would likely be limited in duration, allowing Hezbollah to recover. Most importantly, as in Gaza, there is no solution to the governance problem in Lebanon. There is no rival as powerful as Hezbollah, which would give it free reign over the country. So Hezbollah will not disappear because of military defeat or because another Lebanese group suppresses it. Fortunately for Israel, Hezbollah differs from Hamas in ways that make its deterrence more effective. Hezbollah has acknowledged Israel's military might for years, and the destruction in Gaza is another reminder that Israel will not tolerate it. And Hezbollah's leaders have shown that they care more about Lebanon than Hamas does about Gaza. Lebanon's economy has collapsed since 2019, and another war could lead to the country's total collapse with Hezbollah to blame. This approach is fundamentally unsatisfactory. While a negotiated peace would ideally push Hezbollah fighters further away from Israel's borders, the group would still pose a threat to Israel. Still, an unsatisfactory deterrence is better than a devastating war that would ultimately lead to an equally unsatisfactory outcome. Strategy, however, has never been Israel's strong suit. Israel's military and intelligence services may be excellent. The recent assassination of Haniyeh in central Tehran is just the latest of many. But its national security decision-making in Israel has become highly politicized, and short-term thinking dominates the calculation. Indeed, after more than 10 months of fighting in Gaza, Israel still lacks a realistic endgame. This tendency in the short term may lead Israel to strike first and then try to figure out its long-term goals later. Continued pressure from the United States and its allies to avoid all-out war is necessary to provide Israeli leaders with political cover to avoid a costly and counterproductive war. Daniel Byman is a senior fellow at the Center for Strategic and International Studies and a professor at Georgetown University's School of Foreign Service. His latest book is Spreading Hate: The Global Rise of White Supremacist Terrorism.